And I was getting heavier and heavier year after year. And every doctor appointment as a kid was so dreaded and unpleasant because my doctor always gave this like alarming look to my parents. When I was 8 years old, my doctor pretty much saved my life by telling my parents, enough is enough. She is on a very unhealthy trajectory. Her cholesterol levels are looking like what you would see in a middle-aged man. And she has to go to weight loss camp this summer.
In the US, 25 years ago, 6% of the children suffered obesity. 1 in 16, 1 in 15, like that. Today, we've gone to 20%, so 1 in 5. We've gone from 1 in 16 to 1 in 5 in 20 years.
Her friend gives her Gushers, like a pack of, just quintessential food dye, high fructose corn syrup situation. My daughter literally said in the car 5 minutes prior, I'm really hungry. And she was like, no, it's okay, I don't want it. Like, I just watched it happen. And I said to her the next day, like casually, like in the car, I'm like, I'm so proud of you for realizing what's worth it and what's not. A pack of Gushers, or candy, when you haven't had dinner yet and you're hungry, not worth it. Not worth it. It's gonna cause a sugar spike. You're gonna want more. You're gonna lose your appetite for real food. But having a good dinner, having a good time, being patient, and then having, a smart toasted marshmallow at a bonfire, worth it. It's an experience. It's, so those are the type of things I like to, if I see healthy habits, I like to show my kid, just kind of like reinforce smart,
We're very pleased to welcome Ilana Muhlstein with us today.
Great to have you.
Illana is MS and RDN, a leading registered dietitian nutritionist, best-selling author, and co-creator of the To Be Mindset program. Renowned for her practical approach to healthy eating, Illana specializes in pre- and postnatal nutrition and early childhood eating habits. Her programs, To Be Pregnant and Raising Balanced Eaters, empower parents to build strong nutritional foundations for their children. Illana's expertise has been featured on The Today Show, Good Morning America, and many more, making her a trusted voice in family health and wellness. Welcome.
So good to have you here. I can't wait to have this conversation. Instilling healthy eating habits right from the get-go. On the show, we talk about the first 7 years, but a lot of folks forget that very first year is actually in utero. That's where it all starts.
Yeah.
That's where the magic begins.
So much you can do there.
Right. And
it benefits mom and baby.
And you're going to tell us all about that. Guide us on this nurturing balanced, protocol for eaters, because we're all eaters, aren't we?
That's where it all starts.
It starts there. And fostering this positive relationship with food early in childhood. And that's where we wanted to open it up, because you have your own very personal story. This is the impetus that started your illustrious career. Give us a little bit of that backstory. And as you do, I'm going to pull this up on screen because it's quite visible.
Yes. So I come from a foodie family. My family loves food, always used food as a reward, as a treat, as a coping mechanism. Times are hard, let's go get something to eat. Times are great, let's go celebrate with food. So that was definitely the mindset, the culture in my family. My dad used to say, what's better than food? Free food, whenever we would get like snacks at an airport or something like that. And that was like kind of what my mind was wrapped around. So then when my parents got divorced at 4 years old, I was, I guess, subconsciously already emotional eating and using food as a mechanism for coping. And I very quickly became the largest kid in my class, probably in my school, and I was getting heavier and heavier year after year, and every doctor appointment as a kid was so dreaded and unpleasant because my doctor always gave this like alarming look to my parents. And when I was 8 years old, my doctor pretty much saved my life by telling my parents, enough is enough. She is on a very unhealthy trajectory. Her cholesterol levels are looking like what you would see in a middle-aged man, and she has to go to weight loss camp this summer. So at 8 years old, I was sent to weight loss camp for 9 weeks in the summer, and you got weighed in, measured, you took before pictures, after pictures, worked out all day, got portion-controlled meals. I'd lose 30 pounds, and then I'd go right back into all the old habits, gained 50 pounds over the school year, returned to weight loss camp, and then I just did that yo-yo dieting pattern for so many years until actually like this age, this picture was kind of my peak going into high school. I was over 200 pounds, and I was like, finally, enough's enough. I have to do this for me, not anyone else. And I really have to change my mindset and everything I think about food, because everything I'm thinking now currently is not serving me.
Right. What was the moment where you finally sort of said, I am now in control? And I hear what you said. There was some shock and awe from your family doctor who you attribute to saving your life.
Totally.
And that's amazing intervention. I imagine the summer camp was just terrible. But what was the definitive moment where you're just like at this aha, from now on, I am now the one in control?
I think I was in weight loss camp for maybe my 5th summer doing burpees or something entirely unpleasant with so much extra weight on me. And I remember just looking down and being like, I just don't want to come back. You know, like I just, enough's enough, you know, at this point. Up until then, I really blamed my parents not being married, my mom not liking to cook, me not having good genes in my gene pool. And it was at that point when I'm like, I just don't want to come back here. So like none of that is going to change. I'm just going to have to do it.
And what age were you then?
I was going into high school. So I was like 13 years old. And I just didn't want to be the big girl anymore. And I wanted to go to this new high school with an ability to be the girl I wanted to be.
And so what did you start changing first?
Yeah, so the big thing I did was I started looking at what am I doing in weight loss camp that I'm not doing at home. And the big shocker for me was the scale, because I actually would have to go on the scale every week in weight loss camp, and then I wouldn't go on until the following June when I'd go back to camp, and I'd have this massive shock of like, oh, you gained it all back and 20 pounds. Holy cow. So getting a good relationship with the scale and realizing I need to see it more than once every 10 months to track how I'm doing was like the biggest thing. And that helped me gauge like, oh, you gained, 4 pounds from all that pizza and fries. Maybe you don't like the pizza and fries as much as you think you like the pizza and fries. And so that helped me start to see food a little bit differently. And also in camp, everything was portion controlled. You waited online. You got this like structured plate. The only thing that was quote unquote family style or like whatever, however much you wanted to eat it was the salad. If you really wanted to go back for more veggies, you always could. And none of my friends in weight loss camp like really wanted it, so they would just be fine with it. But I was always been a volume eater who likes a lot of food, and I always liked the idea of gaming the system and getting more. So I always went back for the extra veggies, always. And then I realized when I came home, I'm eating popcorn at night with butter and salt on it. Why don't I just defrost some frozen broccoli and put butter and salt on that and eat that mindlessly in front of the TV? So really leaning into veggies, finding a way to make them delicious, and having some more accountability during the school year was key for me.
We want to talk to you about calories in, calories out in a second, actually, because you're one of those interesting sort of hybridized RD, registered dietitian, and holistic nutritionist, beyond your appreciation for science and all the other degrees behind your name. But Doc, tell us first to start off with, what are the current obesity statistics right now? What are we dealing with, especially in the young population?
No, it's appalling, and not just in the U.S., but around the world. So in the U.S., 25 years ago, 6% of the children suffered obesity. So 1 in 16, 1 in 15, like that. Today, we've gone to 20%. So 1 in 5. So we've gone from 1 in 16 to 1 in 5 in 20 years. Yeah. And looking at it, obviously diet is a huge part. It's not the only part though. It's the environment that our children are growing up in, and how all those environmental factors affect their hormones, their endocrine system, everything else. But obviously, looking and focusing on diet and food is the starting point. If we don't start there, then we're already lost. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah. So, very good to have you here to share your expertise and your experience.
And the goal for me in working with kids in my Raising Balanced Eaters program and working with kids, 0 to 18 is never to even go into calories, never to even go into really needing the scale, because if you started off in the right culture in the home, you really never have to get there. Yeah. And, thankfully all my kids have they're very healthy and they're well-sized. And I think people look at me and my husband now, because collectively, even as a couple, we're down like 50 pounds since our wedding, which is kind of amazing over the last 14 years. So I think people look at our kids being a healthy weight as just, a reflection of their parents. Oh, the kids are naturally thin because the parents are naturally thin, when in fact, my kids still have my genes 100%. They love food. And if it weren't for me fostering this very positive relationship with food at home, I don't think it would necessarily go that way. And I think one of the things is for me as a kid, my dad used to say a horrible line, and I always call him out for it, but he used to tell me, if it tastes good, it's not good for you. And it really made me think of like, he kind of treated veggies like it was a chore. Like, ugh, you have to eat them. I know you want to eat the burger and fries, but you have to eat the veggies. And it just creates this very unpleasant perspective towards them. Versus if you go to France, if you go to Israel, if you go to Greece, the kids are just happily eating veggies because they're a part of the culture, because they're learning where they come from, what they can do for us, the powers that they hold and have. And they see their parents happily eating it, not because they're on a diet, but because they're part of the culture and the way of life. And that is a critical change that needs to happen in our society today in America.
I couldn't agree more. And I can't wait to unpack that a little bit further as it relates to the negative relationship that's first established with, as you just described it, the rainbow of fruits and vegetables with children. It's like, you just got to get it done, where that should be an entirely new relationship established with those foods. It's the picky eaters. We're going to pick your brain about picky eaters coming up. But even before we get into this calories in, calories out methodology, I'm really happy to hear that you're really not a part of that school of thought. Probably some value to it, but this genetic aptitude, this predisposition, do you think or feel that you have evidence to believe that you have genetic predisposition? Is that what I heard you say?
I mean, 100%. Like, it's very hard to become morbidly obese by 8 years old. You know, there are a lot of kids in my kids' grades who I see eat probably as unhealthily as I used to eat, and they did not get that heavy, and they are not that heavy. And they're probably going to continue to get away with it, so to speak, until it really hits them maybe in their late teens or early 20s. So the fact that I could get so heavy so young is just like a sign that I am genetically have the obesity gene, or whatever you want to say. Also, even to this day, I can gain weight very, very, very quickly. I will typically work with a client in perimenopause, tell me, I can never gain weight this easily. I was always able to have this and that. And I'm like, I've never been able to get away with that. So you know, you have to adjust. So definitely don't have the quote unquote best metabolism, but you can still work with it with a positive mindset and realize, okay, well, a metabolism means the rate at which you burn the food off. So I stay fuller longer, you know, like it stays in me more, and I don't need to eat as often as some other people. So you could really flip anything for a switch. And
well, we talk about this on the program a lot, the difference between genetics and epigenetics. Help simplify that for a listener, Doc, because it's not your fate, right? And I think that you're a perfect example of this.
Yeah. So, you know, our genes when we're born, they're like a switchboard, untouched, you know, and so what pushes them, what triggers them is depending on what we do, how we do it, the environment we're in, the food we eat, the company we keep, our mindset, what we think, what we're taught to think. So really we're like a blank slate, you know, with tendencies, but those tendencies don't get pushed until we're exposed to what we're exposed to in the environment. And more recent studies with epigenetics show that overwhelmingly it's what surrounds us that triggers our genes, not what's in us, not what we're born with.
Oh, there's so many studies even to show that if your like 3 closest friends are overweight, you're so much more likely to become overweight. You know, it's also like how you
the circle
you're in, which is why I like to speak at kids' schools and everything to really try to get all the parents on board with you know, a more positive way of thinking and approaching food. And, you know, this week, I have 2 boys, and they are constantly, sadly, getting scratched, getting injured, falling down. They play a lot of sports. They, you know, run around all day. And my son just got stitches this week on his chin, poor kid. And the first thing he said is, we should eat salmon for dinner, you know, because he knows like salmon has omega-3s, it has protein, it helps build collagen, it helps us heal. And cauliflower for the vitamin K, for the blood clotting. Like my kids they don't just eat veggies. I try to change the conversation so they want to. They actually want to seek the
How old?
food.
He sounds like a micronutrient lexicon.
He is, my middle son, Julian, really is a special one. He like requests sauteed mushrooms every day. He gets upset when I don't have them.
My son would call me on my cell phone at 5 years old and say, because I would do equally the amount of same shopping that my wife does. We share the kitchen as well, and say, Dad, don't forget the Brussels sprouts. What is that about?
Muscle sprouts. We call them muscle sprouts.
Nice. I love that. Well, we asked Consensus. We do this on the show quite often. Consensus is a database of all the science. Does social network, as you just described, friends and people close to it. Actually, this is work of Dan Butner in the Blue Zones as well. He covers this a lot. Influence increase the risk of obesity, and it's a pretty clear green line here for yes, with some mixed evidence. That doesn't mean no. It just means inconclusive, and so the smaller portion is no. But this makes me wonder why. Some of the research, sometimes it's the age of the study, would actually even suggest a trend in that direction. And I suppose that's to do with a lot of things like genes and comes back to, environment. So this plays a role, clearly, who you hang around with. But there's the genetic component again, right? Tell us a little bit about calories in, calories out, because this is the first question, no matter how old a child is, or even mom in utero and their personal struggles with weight. We're not bomb calorie meters, right?
Right.
First of all, where did calories come from?
Right. Calories are just a unit of energy, and we burn a certain number, like our base metabolic rate. We burn a certain number just by living, just by breathing, just by using the bathroom every day and walking, sub 1,000 steps just to and from the bathroom, or just burning some calories, usually at least 1,000 just to live and survive. And then when we have a great excess of what we need, it will store as fat. And when we have under, we will typically burn fat for that same energy. So that's like calories in a nutshell. But the quality of a calorie definitely makes a difference. You see, there's also a thermogenetic component of food, like how we burn calories just by digesting food. So 100 calories of pure chicken breast, once we burn it off and digest it, might turn into 85 calories that you're actually getting versus 100 calories of white rice, that's simple sugar, easy to digest, we'll probably get all 100 calories. So there's definitely a varying degree of the quality of the calorie. The idea, from my perspective, is to never get anyone have to count calories on a daily basis. I don't think it's very sustainable. But I think when we're talking to parents about calories, it's important that you look at them somewhat, because a snack, for instance, for a kid, for an adult too, an adult and a kid or wherever, snack should be around like 150 calories. The idea is that it keeps you somewhat sustained between meals, but it shouldn't replace a meal. And it shouldn't have so many calories that you're not hungry for the next meal. And then it's not just the calories, but what do the calories contain? So if it's 150 calories of sugar, it's not doing much for us. It's only going to drive our cravings for more food later, versus if it's 150 calories of a cheese stick and a mini orange that has fiber, that has protein, it's going to keep you fuller longer, it's going to give you sustained energy and growth. So that's like a nutshell of the calories. But it's so crazy to me. There's this new snack, not to trash any snack, but there's this snack, these like Nutella sticks. And on one side, it's this chocolate Nutella spread, and the other side are these like white enriched flour sticks, and they sell them at Costco, and they're very affordable. I think you can get 40 of these packs for maybe less than $18 or something like that. So parents love buying them for their kids. This pack has 270 calories of what? Sugar. Seed oil, sugar, like
obesogen.
Just
obesogenics.
270 calories. That is not a snack for a child. That is a meal, depending on the age and size. So, not that you should obsess over calories, but if parents are in the supermarket, you got to see what you're buying.
Right.
One, look at the calories somewhat, because you don't want our kids to have weight issues down the line. You want them to still be hungry for their meals. And if they are going to be having a snack, it should contain protein, fiber, but ideally both.
Today's episode of The First 7 Years is proudly brought to you by AskDrSears.com, your trusted source for expert parenting advice, nutrition tips, and natural health solutions. With over 50 years of pediatric experience, the Sears family is dedicated to helping parents raise happy, healthy children. Visit AskDrSears.com to learn more and discover their wealth of resources designed for every stage of your child's development. So we're going to go through the years, ages and stages 0 to 2. Then we're going to talk to you about, the best ways to look at labels from 3, 4, and 5, and then school-age children. But before we get there, you guys remember that sort of trick question? What weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of bricks? Right? This is what this reminds me of. And just to sort of illustrate what you just said, Ilana, is that, a pound of broccoli not that that is the, protein replacement for meat or anything. It's a pound of broccoli that's going to convert differently in the body than a pound of nachos with cheese, right?
This is probably like 80 calories, and that's probably 1,800.
Right. And not to mention the micronutrient difference or fiber difference and so many other things. So the story is not just about calories. And I think what you were referring to earlier is, what is called basal metabolic rate, right? The amount of calories we burn by not doing anything versus when we're active. And I think that's another problem.
But also on the calories out method is our kids should be moving.
Right.
Kids are not moving these days.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And that's a huge issue. You got to get your kids moving. And I will tell you, for parents listening, it is exhausting. And it is also expensive. Getting your kids on soccer teams and basketball teams and dance, groups and acrobatics groups and all these things my kids are in, it's not cheap, and it requires a ton of time for you, carpooling, staying at the things, recitals, rehearsals, and all this stuff. So it's it is actually a massive investment of time and money for the parents. It pays back so much in full. And I will share that, I don't know if you know the very famous book, it's like a New York Times bestseller for many months now, Dr. Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation, all about all the social media and all the rise in anxiety and depression among the youth. And the great sum up of the book is the biggest preventer and protector of mental health crisis was actually two things they found. One was religion, and the second was team sports. And that when the kids were engaged in team sports, they had significantly lower rates of anxiety and depression. And it was actually seen as a protector. Almost like a bubble around the kid who was even engaged in the same social media activity. So the team sports it helps with the calorie out. It helps with the lowering rates of anxiety and depression, creating a very healthy and positive relationship with exercise for a lifetime.
Does that also speak a little bit to what you said earlier, which is healthy lifestyles are partly cause and effect by those that you hang out with.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And that network effect and close, and this also, by the way, translates out of the scope of the show, but to what the Japanese refer to anyway as ikigai.
80%.
Right? And the longevity factor. Why do we live as long as we live? Diet's, of course, huge. Yeah. Exercise is huge. But the number one common denominator is?
80%. They don't eat. They have an 80% rule where you only eat until you're 80% full.
Not stuffed.
Harahachi-bu.
Yeah, harahachi-bu.
But when that starts as a child, it automatically just happens.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to think about it.
A lot of that is modeling too.
Yeah,
seeing the parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes my husband and I, we finish a meal, I'm like, we're stuffed. And I'm always like, shouldn't say that. Satisfied. We're satisfied. You got to be careful even how the words you use around the kids.
Yeah. But this change in what you're talking about, just movement, exercise, sports, if we actually look back and you see when that big jump in obesity happened 20 years ago, that's when our culture really started changing and becoming more indoors, more on the screen, more computer, and that went out the window, the exercise, the normal exercise. Yeah.
And again, it's as a parent of 3, I'll tell you, keeping your kid on a screen is so much easier. It's just so much easier. They're not injuring. They're not fighting. You don't have to drive them anywhere. It doesn't cost anything. So it definitely is a harder part of parenting is keeping them constantly moving. But it is the piece where the rewards just give back and back and back and back.
So let's start in utero because that is, where the journey begins. And of course, your work with the To Be Pregnant program totally reshaped how a lot of women are approaching pregnancy. Because it's not just about, worrying about what happens when the child's born and dropping the pregnancy weight. This is nutrition establishing the healthiest possible version of your offspring that you can produce. And
there's great stats on reducing picky eaters too. I don't know if you ever saw, there's a study that showed that if a mom, I believe it was with carrot juice or carrots, but if the mom ate a significant amount of and consistently throughout the pregnancy the carrots, then the babies were shown to like carrots more, have a greater affinity afterwards. So. The benefits of nutrition during pregnancy are it's endless. I mean, there's studies that have connected, which is why I drank so much kefir during my pregnancy, to probiotics in utero with lower rates of colic afterwards for the baby after. Definitely We know that babies born overweight have a higher likelihood of being overweight as adults. So it's just so important, to not say, oh, I'm pregnant, I'm eating for two, I could eat whatever I want. There are some women who truly, their pregnancy, they gain 80 pounds. They kind of just use it as, especially if the woman was very restrictive and dieted for a very long time prior. I've noticed that's become a pattern of where finally they feel like they can let it go. But if you actually go back to the French for a minute, it's very interesting. The French culture around pregnancy is like the actual opposite of America. In France, women, tend to not really diet at all. There's not really a culture of dieting, but actually when they're pregnant, they take it more seriously. They really watch themselves in pregnancy. Versus in America, we have that whole you're eating for two, come on. Why have a slice of toast? Go for the croissant. You're pregnant. You're the pregnant one. Go into, so it's flipped.
So tell us about this program, the To Be Pregnant, because that, again, this is the foundational establishment of optimal nutrition, not just for the baby, but mom carrying.
Yeah, no, this was a wonderful program to do because I actually filmed it when I was pregnant with my third. So I'm actually in my third trimester, in my third pregnancy, really sharing, even just from a personal level, everything I wish I knew before I had my first. Because I actually gained most weight with my first pregnancy and then gains less and less over time, which for a lot of women, it's the opposite. They gain more with each pregnancy as they get older. But I found that the more I cared about nutrition, the better my energy was. And even though I was much older for my last pregnancy, I felt like my energy levels were the same because just the eating well and exercising throughout makes such a difference. So, I just think, a lot of women in their first trimester, they get very nauseous, and all the literature will tell you, eat carbs. All your friends will tell you, eat carbs, eat
For the
carbs.
glycemic control, right? A lot of it's a blood sugar issue, or at least maybe mistakenly overly described as simply a blood sugar issue.
But sometimes it's a lack of hydration that makes the woman really nauseous, is they're really dehydrated. And sometimes it's a lack of protein. And, you can look up in consensus the connection between increased protein and reduced nausea for the first trimester for women, because I saw some good literature on that when developing this program. So, there might be aversions to chicken while you're pregnant and things like that, but then tofu feels more neutral, or Greek yogurt, or you can bake it. You can blend cottage cheese into a smoothie, and then sometimes it tastes a little bit more ice creamy. There's so many ways we can fill up on nutritious foods while pregnant and still satisfy all those cravings. So, if you're craving fries, I have recipes for turnip fries and carrot fries, because your baby still needs the fiber, your baby still needs the nutrients, and doesn't want bland flavors, because we see that having those maybe slightly bitter flavors or different veggie, earthy flavors might actually impact your child later on and reduce the likelihood of being picky. So
it's doing its work to find out, but I think at least it's found 5 papers that answer the question. And ultimately, yes, protein does help with managing, nausea during pregnancy and morning sickness. What are some of the hallmarks, though, of your program? What is it that you establish pregnant moms with in terms of recipes and ideas around eating habits? And by the way, you touched on something I think is really important. A pregnancy experience is different every single time, right? And some of it has to do with the microbiome, and some of it's got to do with even the hormones that are communicating out. This is a separate being. But when they're in utero, they are together and symbiotic with you, right? So but what are some of, regardless as to being a different experience every time, what are some of the hallmarks, what are some of the things that every single pregnant woman should be doing, eating, thinking about?
Definitely having high quality whole foods throughout the day, not relying on, prepackaged, tons of prepackaged foods or ultra processed foods, because we know that whole foods are more filling, and that when you eat more whole foods, you tend to just naturally eat less calories in a day and
more nutrients.
More nutrients, and come to the point where you're eating the right amount. So, obviously in pregnancy, it's important to gain weight, but the goal is to gain a healthy amount of weight and not an excessive one. So within the To Be Pregnant program, I teach women to still use a food journal and write down their food, and encourage them to eat high quality protein, fruits and vegetables every single day, and definitely use fun recipes like cauliflower crust pizza to satisfy the cravings rather than just eating regular white pizza all the time. We also have videos on tips for nausea, tips for constipation, and all of these things because it's uncomfortable. It's honestly a pretty uncomfortable period. And I just found with each of my pregnancies, like gaining a healthier and healthier amount of weight, feeling good in my body, feeling empowered in my body by moving it every day and exercising every day literally makes the whole experience better.
Right.
For both, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For the child too.
Oh, absolutely.
And then apart from just, whole foods and natural foods, how about the importance of organic, clean foods?
So when it comes to organic, I try not to pressure too hard because of just cost. But I definitely like to prioritize, the dirty dozen, getting the dirty dozen organic and not really worrying about bananas or organic avocados and things with thick peels like, watermelon. If you are having budget constraints, you don't need to necessarily get those organic. I really try to push people to get organic berries when possible and really just stick to frozen because, it's just so much more affordable to get organic, frozen, wild blueberries, so high in antioxidants is like the same price as one container of fresh organic, raspberries versus like this massive frozen bag that you can throw into smoothies and even just microwave with some cinnamon, maybe a little stevia, and then it becomes like a hot, delicious blueberry compote to have with Greek yogurt. I love to do that. So really try to get people to go within their budget constraints of what they can afford.
And clean water?
Clean water is so important. I am obsessed with clean water, and I'm right now in this like trusting phase with my husband who tells me that our water is clean and that he put in this great filter, but I have my doubts and I feel like he might have taken a shortcut. So he's actually on edge right now because I bought a tester and it should be at my house any minute. And I'm like, honey, let's see what it is because, clean water is it's just very critical, and it's sad that we can't really necessarily just trust our governments to be providing it for us. We sometimes have to take the extra layer.
Yeah. No, these days I recommend to anybody, reverse osmosis. Really the only system, only filter that will remove everything.
And also, yes, it's an investment. Sometimes these reverse osmosis filters are $200, $300, maybe $400. But if your primary drink is water, and your family's drinking water, and you're not buying cases of Snapple and soda and juices and Prime that are $30 every time you buy one of those cases that lasts 2-3 weeks in your house, it pays for itself. So
Many times over.
And we say this on the show all the time. Your health's an investment, not an expense, or at least we want you to think that way, and it'll pay off as an investment. And certainly water is one of those things. And what are people doing when they don't have, otherwise, I guess what the city would tell you is clean or safe, not pure, but safe. They're drinking bottled water. Which is probably upsetting the hormonal system and causing other problems. But before we get postnatal here, we also share this opinion. I don't know if you're part of our camp here where we say sometimes, and pregnancy is probably one of those times, that it's very difficult to eat yourself into therapeutic ranges of what the body needs, vitamin, mineral, micronutrients. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, listen, supplements are important. It's, getting a boost to help us fill the nutrient gaps is necessary, especially if we're talking about kids and pregnancy.
What are those?
Especially during pregnancy.
Yeah. What are those in your opinion?
So for kids, I have my kids on a multi, right? So they're just, and my kids eat healthily, but there are just some days where I send them with their fruits and vegetables to school and they don't eat them. So, it happens. So they take a multi and an omega-3 every day. And when they're if they are sick or under the weather or getting there, I make sure that we don't forget our probiotics, and we might take an extra vitamin C and extra zinc and so forth. With pregnancy, definitely recommend, in addition to a prenatal, also taking a prenatal probiotic and omega-3, vitamin D when necessary.
All right, she's in our camp.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, perfect.
Folic acid, that's on the list still. What kind?
It should be in a good, prenatal should have the right amount. I think, multivitamin mineral covers all the essential vitamins and the macro minerals. The omega-3 cannot be overemphasized for pregnancy. I mean, study after study show how important it is for the brain development, but not only that, but for the emotional health of the mother
Absolutely.
after the birth, avoiding postpartum depression.
It's a happy food. I always tell my kids when they're in a bad mood, I'm like, well, thank goodness we have salmon for dinner and avocado and flax seeds. And we call them smart seeds, and they stir them in their yogurt.
Yep. Oh, that's great. And then the extra vitamin C for the immune system, and also just to help with any environmental toxins, help the body detox.
Sometimes it's that simple.
And the vitamin D, essential. Yeah.
So before we get into the picky eaters, because you have this incredible program also raising balanced eaters, making good, relationships with food. What strategies, because sugar is the big white evil, right? What strategies, especially, even 0 to 2, some of these infant formulas are just bonkers, for young parents with young kids to avoid hidden sugars in foods?
Well, I think, a lot of parents, they come to me and they're like, it's not me, it's the schools, it's the play dates, it's this. So it's really important that, one, you set your house up for success. Your house is not just a candy store, which you'd be surprised how many of my friends in Los Angeles, educated, somewhat health-minded, have gym memberships, like their homes look like candy stores, and they wonder why their kids eat so much candy. But like, one, you set your own house for success, but you have to educate the kids in a really smart way. So there's a balance there. So a lot of parents now say, sugar's poison, dyes are poison. Problem is, you tell your kids that, they eat it, they realize they didn't get poisoned, so they just keep eating it and they look at you as a liar. So like that also creates this like fear-mongering relationship with food, which I find backfires pretty often. And then you don't want to be the type of mom who's like, I don't care, let my kid have as much candy as they want, they'll be fine, I did it too, yada yada. So it's really somewhere in between. So I really like to educate and empower my children, and I am so proud of them every day, because I like see that it's working, and like the little bits really add up. And that's the beauty of the Raising Balanced Eaters program and the testimonials I love to hear every day, because it does. It really empowers them, and they're smarter than you think. Like, my kids can read food labels better than most parents. But what's interesting is, like, we went to the beach this week. Our friend made a birthday party there, like bonfire on the beach. It was very cute. And we got there around dinner time because they were going to have a barbecue. And my daughter even said in the car, I'm really hungry. Will there be food there? I'm like, yes, they're planning on having a barbecue and there'll be hamburgers and whatever. And we got there, and her friend like gives her Gushers, like a pack of, just quintessential food dye, high fructose corn syrup situation. Yep. And my daughter literally said in the car 5 minutes prior, I'm really hungry. And she was like, no, it's okay, I don't want it. Like, I just watched it happen. And then later in the night, she had a hamburger, like whatever, they were having fun. And then they were, every kid got a marshmallow to roast. And I said to her the next day, like casually, like in the car, I'm like, I'm so proud of you for realizing what's worth it and what's not. A pack of Gushers or candy when you haven't had dinner yet and you're hungry, not worth it. Not worth it. It's going to cause a sugar spike. You're going to want more. You're going to lose your appetite for real food. But, having a good dinner, having a good time, being patient, and then having, a smart toasted marshmallow at a bonfire, worth it. It's an experience. It's, So those are the type of things I like to, if I see healthy habits, I like to show my kids, just kind of like reinforce smart,
I hear two themes here in this program. I hear first education, and then a very close second, autonomy. So you're educating, and then you're giving them the choice, and they're making these healthy choices because they have the educational foundation.
And it's non-restrictive. People see my kids eating things all the time. They're like, your mom lets you eat that? And my kids roll their eyes like, yeah, she lets me, because I'm not a police officer. I want them to, my daughter goes to sleepaway camp in the summer where there's lots of things, but I have like a quick conversation with her before, there's going to be a lot of things. Make sure like you're prioritizing your whole meals, you're drinking what I mean? She knows juices aren't worth it. She knows sodas aren't worth it. Like, she knows that there's a certain amount of sugar that our bodies can tolerate in a day. So make it something that's worthwhile.
How'd you establish that criteria? I mean, especially in a young child, what is worth it, not worth it? What is that checklist?
So there's a principle, there's a whole module in my Raising Balanced Eaters program I like to talk to parents about, which is like sugar bucks that, kids the recommendation is no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day. I think it should be lower. I think could easily be 15, 20 grams of added sugar a day. But like you said, it sneaks into Greek yogurts. It sneaks into even the somewhat lower sugar cereals that have fiber in them. So it does sneak into things, even the organic ketchup that they want to eat with their, grilled chicken or whatever it is. So, we have a certain amount of added sugars our bodies can tolerate in a day. And I show them what a package of candy, one little package of candy sometimes is 45. So let's not touch it. So my kids, again, they know how to read a label. They know how much sugar their body can tolerate, and they get actually really proud of themselves when they come home and they say, "Mom, you wouldn't believe how much candy was at this birthday party, but I didn't have that. I just had a small piece of cake." And it wasn't me who said, "You're going to a party, you can't have it," But I kind of phrase it in a way where they just get excited, and I high five them, and I tell them, "I know it's not easy." I kind of find a point of relatability. I know it's not easy because all your friends are eating that stuff, but you're making such smart choices. I'm so proud of you.
No, I think the power of example is huge as well. So you're actually leading
modeling.
by example. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
At what age do you show them how to read a food label?
If your kids can read anything, they can read a food label. So my kids can read a food label at already 6 years old. They see protein. My kids know to look for P-R-O. And fiber, which is kind of hard because it starts with dietary fiber. So sometimes they get confused. I'm like, what's the fiber? But they know that if it's a snack, it should have protein or fiber, ideally both. So, we were at an event recently and my daughter was looking at, a lot of her friends were eating bags of potato chips. And apparently there was also popcorn there. And my daughter found me and she was like, "Mom, there were chips and popcorn, but I had the popcorn because I saw it had fiber." I'm like, cool.
Nice.
So again, it's not restrictive. I don't go into the party saying you can't eat chips. That's never the language. It's always, how do we empower kids to want to find the fiber and the protein? And they see it, they feel it, It's one of my kids is best friends with a very picky eater. I mean, this kid literally eats one or two foods. And every time after a play date, my son is in the worst mood because this kid doesn't eat anything. And so my son doesn't eat anything when he's with him. So then my son is always in a bad mood. And I make a point to show him that. Do you realize that you went too long without eating, or the food you ate was just candy and junk food? Because after he eats a good meal, after he showers and he's calm, I'm do you remember what you were an hour and a half ago?
To follow up.
So I really tried to, and then when they get good grades on tests, I'm like, that's because you started the morning with some brain berries, So I really make it very positive, again, not restrictive, and like you said, autonomy,
Yeah.
It's all part of the mindful eating concept. Most people think you're, I don't know, cross-legged and meditating like a Buddhist monk while you're eating. That's not mindful eating. Mindful eating is, what did you feel like before? What was the proper choice? And then, of course, what did you feel like after? My daughter was notorious when she was younger to not drink enough. And I was always on her, drink more water. And she would be moody. And that would be my first sign to go, you know what, Zaya, when was the last time you had water? I don't know, Dad. Just have a glass of water and tell me afterwards how you feel. I'd wait 5 minutes and she'd be like, oh my God, that was it. That changed everything for me. I just had some water.
Oh, I have my kids tell me the color of their urine.
Yeah.
I take it a step further.
And
They're
poop.
like, Mom, it was so clear. I'm like, good job.
There you go.
Yeah. So.
What is the color we should be looking for in children? Not too dark, not too dilute, right?
Yeah, no, so something like a nice pale yellow to close to clear. They should be well hydrated and yeah.
So talking about that, that first year of the baby, what is your viewpoint when and how to introduce solids, foods?
Oh, in terms of solid food. So I didn't do the baby-led weaning. It's a new trend now where parents just kind of let their kids go to town on things and trust them. That gives me way too much anxiety. I respect and admire when parents can do it. I don't think I've ever been well versed enough on it, so I don't do that. I definitely did the purees. I was a big pureer. I recommend to all new moms to get silicone ice cube molds, like those really nice silicone molds, and then I would just take broccoli and steamed sweet potato and all these things, blend it up, freeze them in the cubes, and I always had homemade baby food ready to go. So I never really had to rely on pouches. I'm not a fan of pouches because I find like the kids just suck the food back so quickly. There's no mindful chewing involved. So like when you're in a pinch at a zoo or something and that's all you have, fine. But I just find like the easiest foods are, avocado, already soft, already ready to go, banana, ready to go. I started my kids all with like boiled turnips and like really bitter because I really try to go veggie first before fruit. So they really get a taste for the bitter and then maybe combine them. So I never did the like just let them go off and eat the hard foods. I'm kind of too scared about the choking hazards involved.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
What about this overemphasis, though, that doesn't really ever seem to go away on cereals? What are your positions on?
I'd never, ever, ever start my kid on any of that rice cereal nonsense. It's just why, like literally why. There's zero nutritional value to it whatsoever. Maybe if you're doing oats or barley, but I always start my kids on vegetable, boiled smooth carrots. I just don't know why there's so many great vegetables here. Like you have green beans, butternut squash. There's just no reason not to. And the other thing I'd mention is I'm a big fan of exposing to all allergens really early. So my kids, I put peanut butter on their tongue.
They do it the best in Israel. What is it called? The
there's
peanut
no
brittle
peanut allergy there.
Right,
Bamba.
Bamba. They're giving Bamba at like 6 months.
Yeah, and there's no peanut allergy there at all.
Peanuts, and then they never get peanut allergies.
And here it's the opposite. Now so many kids are allergic to sesame. They put tahini on their tongues, everything. So I definitely do that too. I expose to a mashed egg pretty early and all the common allergens.
That's great.
And if you're there already with a child, by the way, I have to say, this is literature I also coming out of Israel, Schneider's Hospital. They have a SLIT program, sublingual immunotherapy. So if your child's allergic to peanuts, vehemently IgE mediated, you need an EpiPen, small, tiny amounts under the tongue over time, increasing slightly over time. You can. I've seen this. Peanut allergies can be cured. Amazing new stuff. Anyways.
No, those first foods when you say the no cereal, I always go back to our friend Dr. Bill Sears, who's one of his favorite saying is avocado at 6 months.
Yeah. Avocado is like a dream food for parents. When you're at a restaurant and you have nothing to give them, you just say a plate of avocado on the side, please. Yeah.
What are the so now the picky eaters, because that's going to gain a lot of attention on this particular episode. What are the strategies, your go-to techniques for helping parents get over this pickiness? Because
I have, so much.
There's a lot, right? But what are the big ones? Greens. One of those sort of things we hear a lot about is you put it in front of the child, 6, 7 times is the literature?
Yeah, sometimes at least, totally.
But some parents just lose the fight.
Right. But
what do you say?
You can't lose the fight with
Don't
anything.
give up.
Like I even just had an adult client this morning for weight loss and 3 weeks she didn't see any change and she just lost 5 pounds in like the following 2 weeks. I'm like, go you, where everyone's faced with that fork in the road where you just try something for 3 weeks and you see no results. So one side of you is like, just give up. What's the point? And the other side of you is like, I got to work harder and get the result. And like, that really just differentiates people who are successful and people who aren't. So a lot of parents don't think that this is worth being successful at because we've had a culture of picky eating is normal and it's natural. But like you go to, like you said, Japan, France, Israel, picky eating is not a thing. Like none of those parents put up with it, tolerate it. So I definitely think one of the most underrated things to help prevent picky eating or manage it is having both parents on the same page. Because
just about to ask you, was Noah, your husband, good cop, bad cop, same page? Like, how was the strategy? Because I know I played a bit of a role. We leveraged against each other if there was some serious pickiness. But tell us more.
I actually have to give my husband a lot of credit. Sometimes he actually emphasizes nutrition sometimes more than me. Because for me, I get all moms, every single mom I almost have ever spoken to, every mom has this like subtle, discreet little fear in the back of their head, especially in America. I've spoken to women across the world and I don't see they have the same thing, but a lot of moms in America are scared like of creating disordered eating or saying the wrong thing or and my husband doesn't give. Like he's like, no, you're eating protein or else you're not moving on with the night, So my husband sometimes is like way tougher, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, just let it. And he's like, no, what? No, like pizza is not a complete meal. Like they're not just gonna eat pizza and call it that. Like he's actually cares, which is nice and interesting. His parents, he was raised very healthy, and his parents were always very big on protein, and so he's also just he really cares that our kids have protein all the time. And nothing makes him happier than his kids eating steak. And like, he just feels like he just loves it. He'll like give them his portion if they want more.
Probably a good base rule. I can relate to that. I'm going to go old school here for a second. I don't know why, but I feel like you probably had a very similar experience to me. And it was like, if I didn't eat my dinner, you're going to bed a little hungry that night and you're having it for breakfast.
His parents were very much like that.
That's what I experienced.
It was, I mean, it was not even a concept back, when I
Right.
grew up. It was not even a concept that you could even consider.
Right, just having snacks instead.
Yeah, that you would not eat your dinner.
Totally.
Today's episode of The First 7 Years is proudly brought to you by Omega Quant, your go-to source for understanding omega-3 and DHA levels in both you and your child. And did you know that DHA levels in breast milk are crucial for your baby's brain development and vision? With Omega Quant's simple at-home breast milk DHA test, you can ensure your baby is getting the nutrition they need for their best start in life. Visit omegaquant.com to learn more and take care of your child's early health.
I have a friend who, like, her method with her kids is like, as long as they eat dinner, they can eat all the trashy snacks in her pantry. And while I wish, her snacks in her pantry were more helpful, or like the snacks were more normal, but at least even so, like, at least she's just emphasizing the importance of snacks and a dinner and like the dinner together. So the first thing is it really helps to have both parents on board. It's really hard if the parents are on different pages. I work with that a lot. There's also one thing that's very hard, just off of picky eating, where I work with a lot of families where one kid in the household has to gain weight and one has to lose. And, there's a lot of just different dynamics within different families. But with picky eaters, I have probably like 80 different tips on preventing and managing picky eating within my program, Raising Balanced Eaters. But high level, modeling is key. The parents being the role model, that just goes without saying, but yes, there's also lots of evidence to prove that. And it's also, again, not the parent eating the veggies because they have to or they're on a diet, but happily smiling, making it normal. Presenting, obviously, is key. And, there's like two camps of people who love sneaking vegetables and then people who think that that's wrong. I'm totally on board with doing it if need be. My kids would probably not eat cauliflower crust pizza just because it sounds weird and they've eaten regular pizza. If I like told them, oh, you were about to eat cauliflower, like sometimes I do sneaky stuff. I put zucchini in all their smoothies, like including this morning. So, I'm fine with sneaking. If you feel like your kid is just going to be thrown off by the word or by the idea, then that's fine to do it. Because eventually they are, one, getting the nutrients, and two, they're actually developing the flavors and tastes for it, whether they realize it or not. So I'm a big fan of presenting real whole foods in front of them and getting them interested. But, you got to do what you got to do to get it in. I also think restaurants are really key events. A lot of times people go to restaurants and they just order off the kids' menu, which is always a blob of carbs and fat and sugar. So it's like chicken nugget with fries. We never, ever
Shouldn't even call the kids' menu. Should be called the unhealthy menu.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day.
The unhappy menu.
Yeah, right? And isn't this also part and parcel to the distortion of taste buds and kind of like ultra-processed food? It's all that's around them.
Right.
And that's all that they're exposed to out there, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to start in the home. The modeling, I heard you say, stalking, the right stuff to begin with, because why make an exception all the time when the exceptions will occur? Birthdays, weddings, but don't start in your home. Two things worked really well for my kids. One, auditing the fridge. So I gave them that level of control. I was like, look, let us know if we're out of the color purple. And they would.
Cute.
And then it would be an experience at the grocery store because I'd say, I don't care which purple you like. Purple's part of the rainbow. You have to have it every day.
Right, grapes,
which
eggplant,
one do you
find
want?
something.
And then I'd let them fill the cart. That's the first little tip that seemed to work for my kids. And then offered them a little bit of that control. And the second one, we had a 3S rule in the family. I don't care what meal in the day. I don't care. You're going to have a smoothie, a soup, and a salad. And usually that would, allow them to sort of choose and whatever time. And they would get most of the servings of the fruits and vegetables and all the colors of the rainbow that they typically would. And they weren't really that picky, my kids.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I was lucky, I guess. But
Yeah, and I think a lot of parents, again, are scared to say no to their kids. When it comes to setting boundaries, like you have to create some boundaries around food. You wouldn't let them watch TV for a million hours. You wouldn't let them go to sleep at 3 a.m. Like you also don't let them finish a meal without a fruit or vegetable. So, restaurants, before we started recording, you guys were talking about going to a seafood restaurant. There's like a popular seafood restaurant near me. And obviously the kids menu is fish and chips, which is just all taste the same. It's all just carbs and fried and all that stuff. But I never, ever got that for them. Like we just get, they have this like salmon pasta primavera, which actually has a lot of nice chunky veggies in it. And it's a huge portion. So I usually just get one of those and divide, and it's like a nice salmon fillet and this pasta with the chunky veggies in it. And I just get one and I divide it in three. And I feel like it ends up being less money than me getting 3 kid meals of basically nothing, like in terms of nutritional value. So
right.
So how about brain foods for kids?
Oh, I mean, yes, that's the brain berries. We're big on the brain berries. We're big on the salmon, and then the smart seeds. The flax seeds and chia seeds. They again talk about autonomy. They love to add it. Sometimes they want sprinkles in their yogurt, and I'll get like the natural dye sprinkles, and it's like as long as there's more smart seeds in it, I'm okay with it. So. That's why, my program is not called Raising Healthy Eaters, because I feel like that just connotes that there would never be sprinkles, there would never be marshmallows, and that's not what it is. Like, it's balanced. So, yes, my kids will put smart seeds sometimes next to sprinkles or next to dark chocolate chips or something, because I'm so interested in getting in that healthy fat and those brain foods from them.
Absolutely. Great words of advice. Can we talk about Lunchables for a sec? I mean, not necessarily the brand, just the concept. Most people are familiar with the prepackaged, made to believe healthy variety of carbohydrates, proteins.
I like the cheese.
Okay, yeah. So tell us what you like and don't like here, because I'd imagine
assuming that is real cheddar and not
right, which I doubt it is.
American
I have to feel like
processed
there's probably
cheese.
50% plastic in there.
Right.
But here's the point, that you can do this on your own. It's going to be convenience. Like healthy eating doesn't have to be inconvenient, right? I mean, so we got to move away from this for our school-age children and move.
This really does, though, come back to the social peer pressure, because with kids, they can eat these healthy meals up until I'd say first grade. And then I find first grade to 7th grade to start to become really hard, because that's where kids all want to be each other and start to understand popularity and start to become a little bit more self-conscious, like he's having something different or he made a comment about my meal. So 1st to 7th grade is a little tricky. These foods are great for before then and as long as possible, just lots of variety. I find they do kind of enter that territory where they just want what the next kid is eating. It's hard until about 7th, 8th grade. It starts to become cool to eat healthy again.
Right.
Definitely by like high school, the girls kind of want the cutely packed salads. But
who's buying it for them in the first place? That's
Right.
our audience. Hi, we're talking to you.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be in the home in the beginning. And
Right.
How do we change that? I mean, the pressure's from the child, and they're watching it on their 4 screens, and then they ask for it by name.
Right.
But what do you teach your parents to defend or to be resistant against that pressure from their kids?
Right. I always tell my kids, like, you're telling me that this kid only brings junk food for lunch, like, the mom just probably doesn't know as much as I do. So it's a little different, So, like, it's not that you have to feel bad for that kid, but is the kid getting what he needs to be as strong as you might be? Like, probably not. So it's not, like, it's like sad when your food doesn't have any good quality to it. So, like, you can definitely spin it that way.
Yeah.
It's not that kid's mom doesn't care, because I think that's like, sounds judgmental and rude, but it's like maybe she just doesn't know as much.
How about foods for the immune system?
I mean, we definitely covered vitamin C and zinc. So that comes into protein-rich foods and, bell peppers and citrus fruits and all that good stuff. We're big on immunity foods, definitely probiotic-rich foods, and I'll get kraut that maybe has a beet in it so it's not too sour, or give them like really good pickles. So we get those good probiotics in. We'll definitely do the Greek yogurt. So vitamin D rich, so we'll have like our good egg yolks from our chickens. We have chickens, or vitamin D fortified, good quality milk. So yeah, we're definitely big on also just broccoli. Like you're not feeling well. Like just you need to have some roasted broccoli. Like it's just going to make you feel better. So I definitely push that.
And how about the connection between food, diet, the microbiome, and the immune system in the brain?
I mean, I always explain to my kids that we have little bugs in our body. I mean, maybe a nutrition label comes a little older, but explaining microbiome and little buggies living in your body, I start really early. Yeah. So if they say like, I just want sugar or something like that, you might, but you have all these pets living inside of you that don't want that. You have all these little buggies that are responding to you, and it's your responsibility to take care of them. So right now, if you have diarrhea or you're getting sick, it's a sign that we haven't been taking enough care of them. So we take care of them through sleep. We take care of them through exercise, can help the microbiome, and definitely through the foods we eat.
Yeah. And I know it's not a nutrient, certainly not a macronutrient. Maybe it should be revered as a nutrient. But one thing I think throughout these ages and stages that's very deficient, in fact, that's what the literature suggests, that's not a protein, a carbohydrate, or a fat, or even a micronutrient, is fiber. Should we be supplementing our children with fiber given the fact they're not really getting enough fruits and vegetables? Or do we always just want to keep pounding and pushing the fruits and vegetables?
I mean, I definitely we want to be pounding the fruits and vegetables, but when it comes to fiber, I mean, look at the foods kids eat most often. Crackers, breads, bagels, pastas, like they're...
Fiber's been removed, right?
Fiber's been removed. And it's like, so the main foods they're eating every day are the ones that are easiest to have fiber in, you know? So going to 100% whole wheat pasta. My daughter didn't know spaghetti wasn't black until she was like 3 years old because I was actually working with
spaghetti?
Black bean spaghetti. I was working with a black bean spaghetti company at the time, and that's the only spaghetti we had in her house. And it was like crazy. She came back from a play date and was like, they had white spaghetti. And her stool was very dark because like it was just I don't know, but your first kid, you should always be the most protective of because your first kid you have most control over. You know, the second and the third kid start to see sugar a lot younger because of the older siblings. So the first one, you got to really set the tone for the house. And the pastas, the breads, all should have at least 2-3 grams of fiber per serving.
Mm-hmm. I got to bring up Dan Butner again for a quick second here because, I mean, this is application to the whole family when we're talking about some of these just common denominators and black beans, really a can of beans in general, but black beans, because they have actually some of the highest ORAC or antioxidant value to them, heart healthy, brain healthy, and so forth. But a cup of beans a day is associated with an extra 4 years of life expectancy.
Amazing.
Really, that's, we look at this, the first 7 years, there's a few visual things to understand. Number one is the size of the brain in the first 7 years. By age of 7, 95% the size of an adult.
Wow.
Right? So those 7 years, you've actually created the most important organ that you're going to use forever.
Totally.
Whatever's created in that first 7 years is really the foundation for what continues. The immune system has been built and constructed and learning those first 7 years. So at the same time, those first 7 years, we actually, as parents, have the most compliant patients.
Right.
We actually have the ability to manage and
control the situation more.
Yeah. After that, teenagers.
Once they're teenagers and have their licenses, it's much harder.
Yeah. So the 7 years is, for all these important reasons, the brain, the immune system, the microbiome, but also because we can. Those are the easiest years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is a really cool product line. I just didn't want to forget to bring this up. Tell us about what inspired this whole concept. Oh, this is not yours. What am I doing?
No, this is me.
Oh, it is you.
Yeah.
Okay, for a second.
Yeah.
No, there was, but it's a.
It's a mindful eating housewares. So a lot of times, again, we want our kids to have the autonomy to pour themselves cereal and so forth, but sometimes portions get out of control. So my Craving Crusher bowls are great for kids. My kids have their cereal in there every single day, and they pour their cereal to the green line or the purple line, and the milk goes up, and underneath each bowl is actually the serving size. So it's 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, 3/4 a cup, cup and a half. Yeah. So you can actually, and it's great in terms of ice cream. Okay, you could have ice cream, but we're going to, the green line. And this way you're, just discreet and chic about eating more mindfully.
You have time to stick with us for a couple more minutes?
Sure.
We can answer some viewer questions, speaking of social media and all the richness that you provide. People really appreciate you being here and sharing so much of your wealth of information. You want to lead us off, Doc?
Sure. So this is Instagram, Mindful Mama. Ilana, what are the top 3 foods you recommend during pregnancy to optimize brain and immune development for the baby?
Oh, I love that. So I'm really big on the omega-3s while pregnant. I will tell you, my first pregnancy, I was eating so many eggs and salmon, and flax seeds and avocado because I really wanted that omega-3 for the brain development of the baby. Yep. And then with my second pregnancy, my doctor just from day one said, oh, take supplemental omega-3. And I was like, oh, okay. So I could do it also without like seeking extra fat all day. So I think it's important to get in whole food, but you probably should also just take the supplement, and that could actually help with your food consumption as well. Because I feel like I was probably overeating those foods just because I wanted the health benefits so much. Yep. So
yeah. And that's the omega-3 DHA that we're talking about, for the brain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Brain juice, right? Reduces inflammation, helps to, fight
inflammation. But this is the biggest one: enhanced cognitive function. I mean, I think that's enough to inspire parents to want to feed their kids better. You see a correlation with IQ scores, and test performance.
Yep.
My kids, I had them both tested early age. This is the work of Dr. Bill Harris. I'm sure you've heard of Omega Quant, but a little finger stick test to see, and they both fared pretty well, but nonetheless could have done a lot better. So I don't know. I started giving them supplemental omega-3 by the teaspoon at the ages of like 2 or 3 years old.
Great.
You can start really early, and anyways, that's why my son called it brain juice. What am I giving you, Devin? Vitamins, brain juice, whatever. That's what he would say, and I got used to that. And I think
lucky kid.
Yeah, well, I think it made a difference.
No kid will ever be upset later on in life that their parents treat them healthy. Yeah. They might complain early on. They might say, my parents are healthy, whatever. When they're 30 and 40, they're going to be like, my parents were like those crunchy parents. It's almost like it's bragging. Like that's how it comes across. It's like my parents like really cared about nutrition. It's not, it's always when you do it the right way, it's, the kids feel more cared for than anything.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely. Healthy Beginnings asks, how do I spot hidden sugars and preservatives in baby formulas and snacks? Are there certain ingredients that I should avoid? I guess she means, or they mean beyond just the sugar.
Yeah. An easy way to just avoid, an overuse of additives and chemicals is just by baseline just doing organic, because then you're just not getting non-organic ingredients, and that if it's whey, the cows were fed organic milk, and it's based on that organic feed. So organic is an easy way to kind of oversee that. Right now there's
certified organic, you mean?
Yeah.
USDA certified or organic certification.
Yeah, so that's the kind I used when I needed to supplement with breast milk, but there's also a lot of American moms who seek international formulas now, and I know that that's getting well scrutinized, and I think that a lot of reform is going to come to the baby formula market soon.
Exciting times, that way. Also, Dr. Sears, good friend of the show, and has been on the show, and will come back, was one of the ones that established DHA, omega-3 ingredient inclusion into baby formula.
Wow.
Right back in the, I believe, late
That's
80s.
What a life-changing.
When it started,
Yeah. Vortrekker or Trailblazer. What else do we have?
Yep. Okay, here's a tough one. My toddler is incredibly picky. Any tips on introducing new foods without the struggle?
Well, that's what the program's all about. Bring that back up.
Yeah. Because there's so much to it. And one is you cannot give up. Toddlers also just want to feel like they're doing everything on their own. I have a very spunky, stubborn one now myself. Sometimes it's changing the choices you make and you offer them. So it's not, do you want brownies or potato chips? It's like, do you want carrots, green beans, or, cucumbers and guacamole, so they feel like they have choices, they're in control, and they're the ones doing it. My toddler also loves kid-safe knives, cutting them himself. Really hard when you're chopping up a bunch of cucumbers to not take one.
Yeah.
So again, it's just endless. And the order in which I tell you to go about all the picky eater strategies. So we definitely dive really deep in it.
Great.
Within the program. I teach you how to reward the kids so they get excited about making changes. But those are just, 2 ones that really come to my mind for toddler specific.
And last but not least, what are some of the healthy school lunch ideas? We covered a little bit of that, but that keeps kids both full and focused. Better parents out there and their kids are early in school, they're looking for better focus,
Totally.
Attention. They're worried about ADHD. They're worried about, their kid getting good grades. It does start, a lot of it anyways, with diet. And
Yes.
sometimes, by the way, please mention what they should be avoiding. I mean, there's no carte blanche or blanket for everybody, but beyond sugar, maybe, what should they be avoiding?
Yeah, I think avoiding is so hard because there's just so much. There's just I don't even know where I would begin.
Let me ask you this way
Yeah.
then, because before
But I
you
definitely know what you should focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, what should we focus on? But then, are you one of the? There are many out there. I think we're probably, admittedly, from this school of thought that if your child even starts to show the beginnings of attention issues, that maybe gluten and dairy should be
I have a whole
kicked out.
bonus module on attention and anxiety within the program, just because those are two, massive
Huge
things.
ones.
But I'd say like the thing to avoid is not putting any protein in the lunch, because I think it's very easy to just oversee it. Like to just do pasta and snacks and even include fruits and vegetables, but just like get no protein in.
Do you have any new exciting projects come up? Any new
Yes,
books?
I do.
Yeah?
I have more for my weight loss audience. The biggest thing in working for 15 years with private clients is they want they can be so good until they're off and like something slips, and then like the whole weekend can get derailed type of thing. So I have a new app coming out that I'm launching in 2 weeks, but it'll probably be out by the time this airs, called the Daily Thrive, and it's every single day of the year you're getting something. So it's either a recipe, an audio drop of a recording, it's a motivational quote, it's a nutrition tip, it's something every single day. So notification to your phone first thing in the morning, right when you wake up, so you can thrive daily.
Very good. No, I love it. Drip content
Great.
that's applicable, and it works. Let's summarize. What do we got for the tip of the day there, Doc?
Involve your kids in meal prep as early as possible. That's number one. When children help to choose and prepare their food, they're more likely to try something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're more invested. And ultimately, we should be handling food and treating food like it's a part of us from
it's a gift.
From day one. Yeah.
From calorie restricted camp to best-selling author and motivator and speaker. Thank you for all you do. Really appreciate you having us, or being a guest rather, with us today, Ilana. And all the best of health and happiness to your family for sure.
Likewise.
That brings us to the end. So for more meal plans, tips on raising balanced eaters, and to explore Ilana's To Be Pregnant and To Be Mindset programs, just visit IlanaMuhlstein.com. Start building healthier habits today. And make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with others who you love and you want to be healthy as well. Parents who want to raise healthy, happy eaters. Until next time, nurture those little bodies and minds. Stay well.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. This is great.